Why is it worthy to be on Open Source Day?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, it's important to share with others the experiences companies are having with open source technologies, the specific experience companies are having with Postgres and Postgres Plus solutions from EnterpriseDB as a way to encourage broader adoption. And we find at events like these, there are a lot of users who come with experience, and there are many who come to understand what's happening around them. And so we're very supportive of these types of events and participating in helping bring the message of open source to other companies that are just starting or looking to expand with technology.
Are enterprises embracing open source database now?
Yeah, very much so. If you think about a basic problem that we see happening, enterprises and governments are struggling with costs, and that problem is getting bigger over time. And as a result of that, they're looking at every avenue in their software infrastructure as a place to potentially save money. And of course, the database, which has been the domain of a few large proprietary and very expensive vendors, is now the next area that most enterprises are looking for as a way to change the basic cost pattern and address their basic needs to save money. And on top of that, they've got to spend that money on new needs around big data, on doing more analytics as a means to deliver bigger and better business results.
What events in the marketplace led you to believe that PostgreSQL has reached a tipping point?
Yeah, I think there are a few key things that result in the tipping point. First and foremost is the improvement in the Postgres technology over the course of the past 3 to 5 years. And it's really noticeable when you start to look at the release of Postgres 9.0, which is really in the past 2 years, where we've begun to add enhancements to Postgres, particularly around the areas of scalability, performance, and manageability. And at the core, enable companies to now use Postgres as a technology across a much broader set of applications in their infrastructure. So that's one of the things that I think is leading to a tipping point. I think, secondly, we know we're in the middle of a platform shift as people start to consider new ways to use technology, particularly around utility computing. We talk about it sometimes as cloud, but I think of it more in the context of using infrastructure as a utility. And as the decisions are being made to change infrastructure components on the hardware side, that creates an opportunity to address software infrastructure that supports that. And we see the choices around database being injected into the decisions to change their platform technologies. I think the third area is the ability to bring complete ecosystem solutions to companies around Postgres technology. Again, this is a place where EnterpriseDB plays a specific role as we bring, full range of product, service, training, and support to our customers to enable them to make full-fledged enterprise-wide implementations of Postgres. So another really important step in the process. Obviously, one that we talk about all the time is cost. The pressure continues. Even though the global economy's improved to some extent, we see that the overall ability to spend on technology is not improving, and in many cases budgets continue to be cut. And so this cost issue hasn't gone away, and in fact I think in the area of database it continues to grow as proprietary vendors are raising their prices. It creates even more pressure on companies to make choices, and we see that as another impetus for change. And finally, I think people have reached the point where they can no longer tolerate the absolute amount of spend. And when you couple that with technology improvements, it's hard to justify not exploring or even moving in to open source technologies. And the last point I would say is there become strong references globally from large companies, large governments, major financial institutions, telcos, a full gamut of companies that now use Postgres in mission-critical production deployments. And their willingness to talk about that to other companies is inspiring users to expand their view of Postgres and to begin to use more.
Do you see specific market industries taking the lead of deploying mission-critical applications?
We do. We've seen, here we've talked a lot about government. We've certainly seen that here in Poland. We see that in the United States, India. Many at the national governmental level are struggling as I think as the world economy struggles, governments have struggled the most with their revenue generating capabilities and then the ability to spend. And so we see a lot of traction within government, and that goes for civilian type and military government agencies. You go beyond that, and if you look at it in the enterprise segment, I named a couple already. We see a lot of strength in those industries where transaction volumes and the requirement for data demands are very high, and where the margins in the business tend to be low. So if you think about the financial services industry, where transaction volumes are extraordinarily high, database costs are equivalently high, but margins in the business are very low. Telco is another example of a similar phenomenon where we've seen a lot of progress. Today, I think we enjoy business with probably 5 of the top 10 telcos in the world. Largely for that reason, we're now looking at Postgres Plus from EnterpriseDB as the alternative to the expensive incumbent vendors. And then, of course, technology vendors, and I put technology vendors as ISVs who deliver a product to customers that may include an embedded database. So we have a very strong presence with those companies who, rather than ship expensive proprietary databases with their applications, they're picking Postgres Plus from EnterpriseDB as a mechanism. And then in the beyond that, in the remainder of the tech space, where we see hardware vendors and other technology-oriented companies who invest heavily in IT as a big part of the value they create for their customers, looking at Postgres as a way to offset their costs and deliver it to high margin to their customers.
You have mentioned industries where enterprises are very big. Enterprises need big features. Has PostgreSQL such a features?
Postgres has developed an extraordinary range of features, and some of them are present in earlier versions of Postgres. You see that's enhanced with 9.2, and you think about the basic compliance with the ANSI SQL standard. Postgres enjoys probably the tightest alignment with the actual ANSI SQL standard for a relational database of all database vendors in the industry, and I think that's a really important statement about how Postgres has been developed over time. Alongside that, as features that have continued to grow in the areas of management, manageability, scalability, performance. In our case, we focus a lot on compatibility. In each of those areas, you can see significant developments in the technology, such that some of the largest companies in the world now deploy Postgres in mission-critical environments, supporting millions of users and extraordinarily large database sizes.
Big enterprises have databases of different vendors. Is it difficult now to migrate to PostgreSQL?
Yeah, it really depends on the nature and complexity of the application and the way it's written. Now, we've done specific work as it relates to Oracle to make applications that have been written to run on Oracle easy to migrate to Postgres by making the Postgres Plus Advanced Server Database compatible with Oracle, so that there's not a requirement to rewrite the application in order to get it to run on Postgres Plus, and things like stored procedures and triggers and functions, things that are Oracle-specific functions that are deeply connected to the application. We provide a mechanism whereby you don't actually have to rewrite that. So it's easy in that case to migrate. And then, of course, we offer migration strategies for other database vendors, in the form of seamless ability to move data from one database to the other. But our focus has been historically on helping Oracle customers with a very easy and efficient way to migrate without rewriting applications.
Okay, we are talking still about PostgreSQL. What is the role of EnterpriseDB here?
So EnterpriseDB brings to market a commercially tested and certified version of the Postgres database. It's probably the first most important thing we do, so that our customers know that they're getting a product that was developed by a strong community, that starts with a great foundation, but has the additional value of having a full engineering discipline applied around testing, validation, certification, so that it can be fully supported in their environment. Now, in addition to that, we also respond to the demands of enterprise class customers by making enhancements to the technology, and in that way we'll add things for manageability, and good examples of that are the one-click installers that make Postgres easy to install across all operating system platforms. Then we've added things like Postgres Enterprise Manager that make Postgres easy to manage and administer across broad-scale deployments. Beyond that, we'll add technologies around the core of Postgres for replication and scalability, and tools that make setting that up and managing that easier. And finally, we'll add some value-add components around Oracle compatibility. So we take a core technology, we certify that, we test that, we add some additional components, we call that Postgres Plus, to make a broader feature set available to our customers. And then around all that, we bring a full system of solutions to our customers. So that includes obviously the support that customers need, so that they can have 24/7 customer service and customer support available to them on a global basis. And then the things that they need to help develop technology, to implement technology in the form of an extensive array of training services for DBAs and developers, and then a whole portfolio of consulting services to help with the planning, the management, and the execution of deployment of a Postgres database.
Now let's talk about Polish market. How do you perceive this market for EnterpriseDB products and the role Linux Polska is playing here?
Yeah. Well, first, Linux Polska has been a great partner for EnterpriseDB. In 2012, we had an extraordinarily strong revenue year and growth year, one of the largest in the company as measured by revenue per country, after the United States and a few other countries. Is one of our top countries, which I think is a statement about the appetite for Postgres as well as the capabilities of Linux Polska in delivering solutions to our customers. Now, when you look a little further, the sheer number of downloads that come to EnterpriseDB from Poland in general has been extraordinarily high. Again, that's in the top 5 of all countries that download Postgres software. So we know there's a huge appetite for Postgres and a lot of organizations trying Postgres. At the next stage, we see an opportunity to begin to penetrate. We've started to grow with small deployments in a wide range of organizations. We've been strong in financial services and in government. So we see the market here as developing very, very quickly. And I think Poland, I spent time at Red Hat, and while I was there, we watched the development of a variety of markets. Poland's developed a strong base of adoption for open source technologies. We've seen it strong with various Red Hat technologies. And as we watch that pattern of acceptance for open source, we're also seeing Polish firms start to look at the next set of technologies, including relational databases, as the way to move forward with additional and new cost savings. It's a pleasure to come back to Poland. I was here, the last time I was here was 3 years ago at the open source conference then, and in that amount of time it's been remarkable to see the development of the Postgres technology as we look at this worldwide. But very interesting to me to see the attendance at today's event was extraordinary and significantly greater than what we had even 3 years ago, which I thought was strong then. And I think that's a sign of not only the appetite and interest in open source technologies, I think also a recognition of the value that's created by the deployment of more technologies up the stack, including Postgres. So I think there's a great promise for this market to develop and strong adoption for Postgres.